everyone's like, oh yeah, Zelda, he's that guy with like the green hat and he has a master sword and stuff, and you're like, no, that's Link. And some people just make the joke for funs. But yeah, so Link, where does this name come from? You might be like, maybe like Lincoln, like Abraham Lincoln. But no, the hero Link was named so in part to connect players and insert them into this world, into this interactive role. Link was kind of something of a blank slate. Like a player could come in and be like, this is me, and you could give like I am Link, basically. Like it links you as a player into the game and makes you care about the things that happen to this character. And it's not just third person, like it is third person, but you're really more involved in it than you would have been. Another interesting thing is it comes from the term hyperlink a little bit. So a hyperlink, you've probably seen one in like a Word document or on the internet. It's like blue, and you click on it and it takes you to like another website, maybe to like a video or something. Probably will put a hyperlink in the description of this. Go check out that hyperlink. The early Zelda was kind of techie, really. Kind of like that cyberpunk-ish vibe. The early Legend of Zelda was gonna be like, you know, the Triforce, it was gonna be like microchips, and there was gonna be like circuits throughout it, and it was gonna be this like time traveling protagonist type thing. Like Link was traveling through time to different time periods. And it's interesting because it's kind of like come true. It's kind of come full circle, because like with Breath of the Wild, they've added like Sheikah technology, and if you're new to Legend of Zelda, you're like, what is he talking about? But basically, I think it's really cool because it's come full circle. They started with being like, we want to make this techie game. They're like, no, we're going to make it more fantasy based. But they still kind of like have just been a little sprinkle of that techie stuff in there. So I think that's really cool. For those that do not know about Legend of Zelda, you might be like, what is Zelda? Like, what is that? Zelda is the princess in the story. And her name actually came from a very unlikely place. If I were to ask you, what does the Great Gatsby have in common with Legend of Zelda? You might be like, okay, I have no idea where he's going with this, but let's see. So, the author of The Great Gatsby was F. Scott Fitzgerald, and his wife's name was Zelda Fitzgerald. And like around the world, Zelda Fitzgerald was known as like a pretty prominent woman, and Shigeru Miyamoto was like, I actually think that's a super cool name. I like the sound of it. Let's use it. So there we go. That's how Zelda got her name. Moving on to some more of the storytelling. The one who wrote the story and the script, like I mentioned before, was Takashi Tezuka. And this was for The Legend of Zelda on the NES. And with that, there's kind of the talking like, it's dangerous to go alone, take this. And it's interesting, like with doing research into this episode, because I didn't quite realize that he was the one. I always was like, Shigeru Miyamoto created Legend of Zelda. He's a super awesome guy. I never really thought of Takashi Tezuka. Looked him up, I'm like, oh, I've seen that guy before. He's still a part of Nintendo, and he's made a ton of awesome games and stuff. But yeah, he was the one who wrote the story for The Legend of Zelda. With that, I think that's kind of where my love for storytelling started, was with Legend of Zelda, which is why I gave this podcast the name Rupees Over Ramen, because it's something that goes super deep into my soul. Like RPGs in storytelling and fantasy and all of that, it all started with Legend of Zelda on the NES. And then later with like the N64 and Ocarina of Time, and then Minish Cap and Wind Waker and Breath of the Wild, and like going back to the Super NES at one point and playing Link to the Past, which is a super awesome game. But with all that, it was with the story and with Link as that main character.